Probably the only thing from college online school that actually mattered. No, I'm just kidding. Not that actually mattered, but that I'll actually remember forever is that there was an artist. There was an artist like back in the 50s, and he took another person's art, like someone who's better than him, had more sticks, and he took his art and asked him, he was like, hey man, can I erase this? He said, sure. He's just like that one artist who had that piece. Some random dude comes up to him and asks him to erase it. It said in the whatever I was reading, it was something on a psychology class. Uh, it said he was like, yes, you can. And it mentioned that like he understood where he was coming from whenever he wanted to erase this piece of art. So he takes it, the piece, like it's just a picture of something, and he erases it. What is that supposed to mean? That was... He erased a piece of art. Does that make it not a piece of art? Was the canvas before it was drawn on a piece of art? I mean, it was definitely a piece of art whenever it had that picture on it. So, whenever he reverted it to what it was like before it had the picture on it, is it not a piece of art anymore? But it was at one point. We have words and stuff, and words have definitions. And whenever you look at the dictionary, look up the word art in the dictionary, I don't know how many definitions you get, but it could be one, it could be two. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked it up just because I don't want. I think that I don't want a concrete answer. But like, hold on, let me cut this out. Actually, no, I'm not going to cut that out. You know, it's way too easy to just say, like, oh, art. Everyone has their special definition of what art is. Art is whatever you make it. It's up to the person who makes the art or interprets the art. No. That's definitely not what the dictionary says. And, I mean, yeah, it's true. But what can I gain from that? What do I gain from knowing that everyone has their own little special interpretation of art? I want like someone concrete. I want someone who is just so confident in what they say and what they believe to be like, listen up, pal. This is what art is. Let me lay it down for you. Versus just like that. Well, art, you know. just tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. I want your answer. And I know that whoever's answer, you know, it varies from person to person and what they've experienced and what they haven't, and their own relationship to the word art and its definition and what it means to them. But I want it to be originally from you. I've never actually asked anyone about how they define art. I've sort of gotten an answer from one person, but I didn't just go to them asking that question. I never posed the question, what is your definition of art, before. I mean, to myself, I have a lot. But this one person came up with a thing that I really liked. And he was very sure in what he was saying. He was very confident, and he was like had this conviction about him whenever he told me about art. He played the flute, and I was playing guitar with him, and we were sitting in lawn chairs next to the street in in the shade of a tree. I'm not sure what kind of tree it was. And we were talking about stuff. And he ended up saying that, like, the thing about art is it has a story to tell. What makes something art is that it tells a story. It's definitely not what the dictionary says, but that's what I'm talking about, man. Like, he has his own way of interpreting it, but he doesn't acknowledge the fact that it's just his own. He's just like, this is art. And that's what it is. This. The word art means this. It means that whatever object, subject, concept we are speaking of, it needs to tell a story. It needs to have a story to be told in order to be defined as art. And that was cool. That was really cool. Maybe that's not what he was getting at, but that's just how I interpreted it. Because, like, he probably just used the word storytelling in there, and that's what I latched onto while we were talking about art. Or maybe I interjected somewhere and used the word storytelling, and then he kind of incorporated it to what he was going to say, and now this is just what I have. I don't know, but I really like that definition of art. In order for something to be art, it has to have a story to tell. The question that always comes back to me is a dumpster art? Is a dumpster art? Is a dumpster art? In what ways does a dumpster embody art? And also, in what ways does it not embody art? According to your definition of art, under my definition, my current definition of art, a dumpster see, what I'm debating here is, does it need to intentionally tell a story, or can it just have a story without even having the intention to tell one? If we assume that in order to be art, you have to have a story to tell, and that's it, a dumpster is definitely art. Think of all the things that travel from different places to all come into one, be contained as one whole under the word dumpster. It's such like an unbecoming thing to be considered art. But a lot of art is ugly. And dumpsters aren't naturally, pleasant. They're to maybe not our sense of, sometimes our sense of like sight, but definitely to our sense of smell and taste, are disgusting, horrendous, appalling, repugnant even. It's like me in the eyes of a woman, But there's also art that I see with my eyes, and I'm like, that's hideous. I mean, that's really ugly. That's fugly, man. Like, God. But people make that stuff, and I guess it sort of represents what it means, what you are as a human, because a lot of things, human, are ugly. That's a word that we use that we've come to define as a trend in our world. There are ugly people. It's very commonly two words put together. So, is art just something that comes from? Is art just something that can be experienced by our senses? Well, that's everything. I mean, what can you not experience with your senses? I guess that sort of makes yeah, because we can sense both pleasant and unpleasant things, which art is ugly and pretty sometimes. Sometimes it's really ugly and sometimes it's like breathtakingly beautiful. But either way, it's just your spectrum of sense. So whenever that one guy erased the other guy's painting, it's, yeah, under the definition of art, where something we can experience with our senses, that's no longer, it loses a lot of its, you know, fullness in the sense of the word art. If we're going on the definition of just something you can experience with your senses, because now your sight, like your sense of sight and what you had before it was erased, has been reduced to what it was, just a canvas. Not sure if it was a canvas. It's probably a canvas that he painted on or drew his picture on. It's drawing. Under that definition, it's much less compared to what it used to be. But I think under the definition of it has a story to tell, it's much greater a piece now. Because what other piece of art has been erased and then framed as an erased piece? It's got to be the only one in that museum. Maybe that, like that textbook I was reading in that psychology class in online school, that was just like the first instance of that happening. And now it's like a very common thing. Oh yeah, look at this erased piece. Oh wow. Must have used a Ermal glue on that. I don't know. Holy cow, is that a number 2 pencil eraser he used on that? Wow. That's impressive. But look at those smudge marks, man. But if we're going under a story to tell, it's way more a piece of art now. Way more. It's experienced more, it's lived through more. It's had something happen to it that and remained a considered piece of art by the masses in a way no other piece has, and that makes its story one to be remembered out of a boring college class. One to be remembered to where I'm still thinking about it with just like, you know, my memory. Which I didn't even think about art back then whenever I was reading that. Not anywhere close to how I think about it now, how much I've developed my thoughts on it. I like that definition. In order to be art, this thing is such a simple word. I wish I had a better word. I need to consult a thesaurus, but this thing, all it's got to do is tell a story. If it can tell a story, it's a piece of art. A dumpster can totally tell a story, dude. I don't know if it's like me, like trying to identify with the dumpster, trying to make it seem like my relationship to dumpsters is, more normal. It's like, oh yeah, he looks in the dump. He checks the dumpster whenever he walks by because he appreciates art. That's why he does it. Found a toaster in a dumpster once. It worked and everything. It smelled like battery acid whenever you toasted anything with it, though. It didn't taste like battery acid. It just smelled like battery acid while you were toasting whatever you were toasting in it. I think I eventually just dumped a bunch of Skittles down it. This is what's coming up, y'all. Okay, I'm done.